Hello everybody, this is Ian here, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. Today is the first video in a series I plan to do, where I review each of the modern Doctor Who seasons, starting with Season 1. But first, a bit of background. Season 1 was the first Doctor Who season to air since 1989, and was the first new Doctor Who to air since 1995. It featured Christopher Eccleston in his first and only season as the Ninth Doctor. There are three companions in this series. Rose Tyler was the main one, who was in it from the first episode to the final episode. Then there was Captain Jack Harkness, who was in it from The Empty Child to the last episode. And the last one was Adam Mitchell, who was in Dalek and The Long Game. Many consider Season 1 to be the best modern Doctor Who season as a whole. And I will agree that it is a good season, but I do not think that it's the best, and I will explain why. I'm going to base this review off of three criteria: the Doctor, the episodes, and the companions. First off, the Doctor. When we first encountered the Ninth Doctor, he's a very serious and dark character, but as the series goes on, he begins to show a more silly and fun-loving side. However, there is a large problem with the Ninth Doctor, and that is the length of his tenure on the show. Christopher Eccleston only stayed on Doctor Who for one season, so we never really explored his character too much or really connected with him, like we had for almost every Doctor before him. However, if he had stayed on the show for another season or two, I think he would have made a very good Doctor, and he still was, just not as good as he could have been. The Ninth Doctor combined the kind of silly goofiness of the 11th Doctor with the more serious attitude of the 12th, in a way that hadn't been done before or after. In short, the Ninth Doctor was an excellent Doctor, but he just didn't stay on long enough to really get to know him. And for that reason, I'm going to put him 4th out of 4 in the modern Doctors ranking. Now on to the episodes. I'm going to rate the quality of these episodes based on this chart that I made. It has 9 levels. The lowest is black, absolutely terrible, then brown, which is awful, then red, which is bad, then orange is mediocre, yellow is okay, light green is good, dark green is great, blue is really good, and purple is flawless. So let's jump right into it. First off, we have Rose. Now some of you may be surprised to find Rose rated so relatively low, but in all honesty, it's just not that great of an episode. It's just remembered very fondly as being the episode that revived the series. If it had aired anywhere else in the series, it would just be a kind of unremarkable standalone episode. The story is flawed, but it was the first episode, and it did its job. It introduced the characters and the concept. So normally I would have given it a yellow, but since it was the first episode and it did everything it needed to do, I'm going to give it a good. Now on to The End of the World. Now this episode is the lowest ranked episode of Season 1, and there are a few reasons for that, one of which being that it was just weird. I mean, the villain was very odd. We had Cassandra, the Skin Lady. It wasn't the most enjoyable to watch, and honestly, the real reason it was made is that the series needed to show off some aliens. So I'm going to give it a mediocre. It wasn't a bad episode, and it wasn't really a good episode. It was just kind of a average episode. The third episode, The Unquiet Dead, was a pretty good episode. It had good enemies and good characters, but it wasn't really that memorable. And now for 4 and 5. I'm going to review them together because there was a two-parter. Now the first one was, I think, better than the second one, which is usually the case when it comes to two-parters. The first episode had the mystery of the aliens. We didn't know what they were or who they were, but we knew they were there. We knew that they were taking over the British government. There was a great deal of mystery to it. And the second one, while it was more exciting, was really a lot of fat green aliens chasing the heroes around Downing Street. It was still a good episode, it just wasn't as good as the first part. Dalek is the first really good on this list, and one of the three highest-ranking ones of the season. It reintroduced the Daleks into the series, and it was a very good episode. It was very suspenseful, and we had this unstoppable enemy that was slowly advancing towards the surface where it's going to destroy everyone, and it was probably the best Dalek episode until Season 9, and really one of the only really good Dalek episodes of the modern series. The Long Game, I think, is the weakest episode from Series 1. It isn't the worst, but it is the weakest. It was a little bit confusing, and the villain's motives were never really explained, and it was just weird, really. Now, Father's Day is a unique episode in Doctor Who. It's only been done one or two more times other than this, where it goes into the details of what happens when you change time. It was suspenseful and even had the Doctor dying, so I'm going to give it a great. And now for probably the two creepiest Doctor Who episodes of the new series, and maybe ever. It is The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances. It features a gas mask zombie apocalypse, but has one of the happiest endings of any Doctor Who episode, as not a single person dies. Here is a case where the second episode is actually better than the first episode, because the second episode is much more exciting, and it really plays off all the suspense that was built up in Part 1. And now for Boomtown, probably the most forgettable episode of Season 1, which features one of the Slitheen surviving Aliens of London and World War III, who wants to make amends for her actions. I mean, the episode itself is pretty good, but you can tell that it's just filler. Now, there is one very funny scene where the Doctor and the Slitheen talk over dinner, and if you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. And now for the series finale two-parter, Bad Wolf and the Parting of Ways. Now this episode returns us to Satellite 5, where weird things are going on. Now this isn't really saying much, because weird things were going on there before. Now the first episode is pretty good. It plays out pretty much like a typical Doctor Who episode, until you find out that the Daleks are still alive, and their first of many miraculous comebacks. It gives us the Doctor's redemption from the Time War. He faces a moral dilemma as he has to choose between destroying the Daleks, but destroying the Earth as well, and letting the Daleks go. It transforms him from a warrior to what he is today. And this is also Christopher Eccleston's last episode as the Ninth Doctor, as he does regenerate at the end. So overall, the average of this season was great. It was one of the most solid seasons, even if it wasn't the most enjoyable. It did everything it needed to as the first season, and overall it was very good. Of course I have other reasons behind my decisions for the ratings, but I don't have time to go into them right now, so I'll save them for if I do a review on the individual episode. And so with those two done, it's time to move on to the final category, the companions. I'm gonna do this from the least important to the most important, so that means Adam, then Jack, then Rose. So, Adam. Adam was the first male companion since Vizsla Turlough in 1984. Now, a lot of people don't think Adam was really a companion because he was only there for 2 episodes, but I consider him one. So we are introduced to Adam in Dalek, and he's there for 2 episodes, the last being The Long Game, where the Doctor ditches him on Earth with an alien implant in his head. It's pretty unfair because Adam gets one chance. He tries to alter the past with technology from the future, but I mean, the Doctor's fine with Rose literally destroying the world in the next episode, but anyway, he's pretty unpopular, but I like him. But he wasn't in that many episodes, so he's not really going to affect the ratings that much. Next is Captain Jack Harkness, one of the most beloved characters of the modern series. We are first introduced to him in The Empty Child, and he departs in The Parting of Ways, but he does end up coming back in Season 3. What to say about him? I mean, he's Captain Jack. He's funny, he's an action hero. He's Captain Jack. What else is there to say? And here we are, with Rose. The main companion of this season. She's in every episode, and I do not like her very much. Now wait, before you come to my house with torches and pitchforks, let me explain. I'm not understating her importance to the Doctor Who universe. She's the one who saved the Doctor's soul. She is one of the most important, if not the most important, companion in the show's history. But that doesn't mean I like her. I don't really like her character. She kind of annoys me. I'm gonna go into more detail on this in the Season 2 review, because that's the one where it really sticks out. So now that we've gone through all of the criteria, what's the consensus on the season? It had a good Doctor who was too short-lived. The episodes were solid, but a lot of them were very weird, and the companions were fairly mixed. It's an overall good season, but it's not fantastic. And that is my Season 1 review. Do you agree or disagree with me? Did you like it? Do you want me to keep doing them? Tell me in the comments below. I'll see you next time.